All right, it's Friday, December 16th, and we got the NFL Week 15 spread picks. The pick last night, Thursday Night Football, the Seattle Seahawks plus 3.5. Unfortunately, it didn't cash. That game was a lot closer than it looked, though. If the Seahawks didn't turn the ball over in the 2-minute drill to end the first half, we probably would have covered that game in the second half. Homer fumbles that ball. The Niners basically brought it back for the touchdown. They were right there at the goal line. They just ran it in real easy. And that 7 points was really the difference maker. If the Niners don't score that, and if the Seahawks were able to put Purdy in a position where he'd have to make more plays, we would have saw a totally different game probably. But instead, the Niners are playing comfortably. They have a lead. Purdy's hitting open guys, and it just changes the whole flow and the momentum of it. The Seahawks tried to make it interesting at the end, but it just wasn't quite enough. But that's what I say about taking the sharp side in sports betting. We can't really control the outcome. Sure, you could say, hey, this quarterback throws a lot of interceptions. Maybe I don't want to back this quarterback. But as far as fumbling goes, and as far as fumbles by position players, by receivers, it's hard to really predict, oh, this guy's going to have a fumble in a game. Like, we can't predict that Homer's going to have a fumble in the game. That's just something that kind of comes along with it. In sports betting, there's a lot of variance, but you just want to be on the right side, and more times than not, it's going to come through. So that's what we're going to do here in Week 15. I got a couple picks for you guys. I got a couple leans, and I got one money pick that's going to really surprise you guys. It's not going to come till towards the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. But first things first, we got football on Saturday. We're being treated. We got 4 nights of football this week, and the Saturday games, we got 3 of them. The first one, the Indianapolis Colts are at the Minnesota Vikings. Right now, we see Colts plus 3.5. This line was a lot higher than that originally. It's been steamed down. It's sharp action, of course. The sharps are always going to go against the Minnesota Vikings. I've gone against the Minnesota Vikings a few times. You guys know with the Commanders, we pushed. With the Cowboys, we crushed them. With the Patriots, we fell short. With the Jets, we fell short. I mean, the Vikings, they're just winning these close score games. They're staying in there. But is it sustainable? My thoughts on if the Vikings run is sustainable, I think it might be at home. I think in the regular season at home, maybe they can pull this out too. Why can't they pull out 3.5 at home against the Colts? What has Matt Ryan really showed us where we really want to back Matt Ryan in this situation? At the same time, I think on the road, lines like this, lines where the Vikings are short favorites or even dogs on the road, like that game last week against the Lions, it was obvious the Lions were going to win that game once that game started. The Lions just had complete control. So I think we got to pick and choose when to fade this Minnesota team very wisely. I wouldn't be surprised if the Colts were able to get them here. But like I said, Minnesota has just found a way to pull these games out, especially when they're at home. And I think at this point in the season, they're really confident in their ability to do so when they're at home. So I don't really want to fade that. This is a tricky spot for me. If I had a team or a quarterback that I trusted a little bit more than Matt Ryan, I probably would pull the trigger here, but I just can't. Next game, we got the Baltimore Ravens at the Cleveland Browns. The Ravens are plus 3. We see the odds are at minus 120. It's probably going to go down to plus 2.5. In this game, it's real tough. I'm assuming that it's going to be Huntley that's out there. With Huntley out there, the Ravens are going to make this a low-scoring game. They're going to play with defense. They're going to play with defense first. They're going to play with the running game first. They're going to try to control tempo, control clock. The Cleveland Browns, it's hard to back them right now with Deshaun Watson. The game against the Bengals was the Browns' game to lose, and they went ahead and lost that game because of Deshaun Watson. It's hard to really want to take him as a favorite right now. Baltimore without their quarterback. How much worse is Baltimore without Lamar Jackson? A lot of the things they were doing wasn't predicated on Lamar. It was predicated on them being a defensive team. It was predicated on them being a running team. I don't really know how much they lose with Lamar Jackson being out. Lamar is better than Huntley, don't get me wrong, but I think this team for the most part is pretty much intact. So in this spot, I probably would lean Ravens just because I'm getting a couple points here in division. Just like I told you guys last week, give me a couple points with the Ravens over the Steelers. Here, not as confident as that one probably, but lean Ravens with the points. Last game on the Saturday card, we got Saturday Night Football. The Miami Dolphins are at the Buffalo Bills. The Dolphins are plus 7. I'd pull the trigger right here on the Bills. I'd take the Bills minus 7. I'm just not sure how healthy Josh Allen is. He just doesn't look as dynamic as he has previously. But the Miami Dolphins on the road have just been bad all year. The Miami Dolphins, Tua Tagovailoa, they're just getting exposed at this point in the season. This isn't really the time where you want to back them, but it is a lot of points. It is an in-division game. The Dolphins did have success against the Bills earlier this year, but statistically that game was an outlier. So you wonder, are the Bills supposed to regress back to the mean? Are the Dolphins supposed to regress back to what they've been earlier this season, or are what we're seeing now the new version of them? This is an extremely tough game. If the conditions are tough out there, like I'd have to see what the weather is a little bit before the game. If it's like super cold, if they're getting snow or something out there, I probably would lean Bills in this spot just because I think that Miami on the road isn't something I want to back, especially with Tyreek Hill getting banged up in the last game. Slight lean to the Buffalo Bills minus the 7. Moving on to the Sunday slate, we got the Atlanta Falcons at the New Orleans Saints. The Falcons are +4. Heavy lean to the Falcons plus the 4. I'm not quite sure if we're going to end up getting there, but heavy lean to the Falcons plus the 4. Ridder can't be worse than Mariota. Just think about it like that. Ridder can't be worse than Mariota. Ridder, he's known for having a high IQ. He's known for making the right read, for playing it safe. He's also very athletic, so they're going to be able to do some of the athletic things that they do with Mariota, some of the running, mobile things they do with Mariota. They're going to be able to do that with Ridder probably, and also Ridder's going to make smart reads and not turn the ball over the same way Mariota would. Mariota can't read a defense, so when you have Ridder out there, you're going to have a guy who can read a defense a little bit better. You're going to have a guy who's probably a better pocket passer. The Saints defense has been mostly name brand this season. They haven't been that great this season. Andy Dalton, do you really want to back Andy Dalton? I don't know about that. It's a division game, and the line number is all over the Falcons. We took the Falcons week 1 against the Saints. This number is all over the Falcons, just like it was in week 1. You got to take the Falcons in this spot. My only concern, and the only reason why I'm saying I won't go official just yet, at the end of the day, it is a rookie making his first start, so you are gambling. Essentially, you're gambling when you take the rookie in his first start, and not only that, but when the Saints do play well, it is when they are at home, when it's not prime time. When Andy Dalton is in a low pressurized game and he's just at home, when the Saints are at home in New Orleans, that's when they shut out the Raiders. The Raiders didn't score a single point. So you're getting the Saints at a strong spot, but you're also getting the Falcons at a strong spot with the number on them. With this being a division game, getting a ton of points, getting a new quarterback in there, that new energy. They did beat the Saints earlier this year. So there is a heavy lean towards the Falcons. But like I said, there's counter narratives that might eventually make me have to just stay away from this game. Next up, we got the Detroit Lions at the New York Jets. The Lions are -1.5. And this game makes me sick to my stomach because I really wanted it. I almost placed this game early when they were saying Mike White was going to play. Mike White is out now. Jets, Williams on the D-line. He's banged up. I don't really know if we could back the Jets anymore, guys. I wanted to fade Jared Goff. The Lions are being priced like a top 10 team on the market right now. They're road favorites. Jared Goff outdoors. Jared Goff going against this defense. It's just turnovers waiting to happen. This is when Dan Campbell and the Lions are riding high, and you finally decide to fade them and it cashes. This is the moment right here. But unfortunately, Mike White's out, and we got Joe Flacco out there. And do you really want to back Joe Flacco? I just can't get on here and tell you guys that the Jets are a lock anymore with Joe Flacco out there. If it was Mike White, just off him being a gamer, just off the heart that he has and how hard the guys play for him, I would have said take the Jets with Mike White, even if they were a slight favorite. At -2, -2.5, I still like the Jets with Mike White. But at +1.5, I just can't do it. And I know that sounds crazy to power rate Mike White that high over Joe Flacco, but I just think Joe Flacco is a sitting duck down there. I just think he's a sitting duck, sitting in that pocket, waiting in that pocket to get crushed. We saw he had that fumble right away against the Bills, and I just can't take that chance. I just can't take that chance in this game. With Joe Flacco out there, I can't even give you guys a lean because I still want to fade Detroit. I don't like Detroit in this spot, but with Joe Flacco out there, I can't give you guys nothing. If it was Mike White, we would have took the Jets. Next game, we got the Kansas City Chiefs at the Houston Texans. The Chiefs are -14. With a 2-touchdown spread on the road, I took the Eagles when they were -13.5 at the Texans. It didn't work out for us. This Texans team is a little bit more depleted now than they were then. Are they really playing for anything at this point? They did get the cover against the Cowboys. Are they going to keep doing that? Not too sure about that. But at 14, 2 touchdowns right on the money, that's a little tough for me. If it was 13 and a half, I'd probably be on the Chiefs. I can't lie. At 13 and a half, it's hard not to see the Chiefs beat them by 2 touchdowns. But right there at 14, we're getting a little too close for comfort. And I'd rather just stay away because ultimately it is a road game. So we're going to leave that game alone. But I can't tell you guys take Texans. So I guess the lean is Chiefs at -14. Next game, we got the Philadelphia Eagles at the Chicago Bears. The Eagles are -9. I want to take the Bears so bad. This is a ton of points for a home team that just knows how to score the football. Justin Fields, he could duel with Jalen Hurts. Justin Fields can make enough plays to keep up in this game. He's going up with more. He has more going up against him than Jalen Hurts has. Obviously, the Eagles have a much better defense than the Bears do. But the Bears at home, they're gonna want to stand up in this spot. It's tough. It's tough. And the only reason why I can't take the Bears here is because I was hearing that Justin Fields wasn't practicing earlier this week. He had an illness, stomach flu, or whatever the case was. But the Chicago Bears, if Justin Fields was fully healthy, I'd have to take the Chicago Bears in this spot. It's just a lot of points for a team that I know can score the football here. You look at the total, 48 and a half. That's more than you would normally expect for a Chicago game. The Chicago Bears are going to score some points in this game if Justin Fields is playing good. It's just like the Chiefs-Denver game the other day, last week. You had to take Denver if you were going to touch a side in that game. I told you guys heavy lean to the Broncos. The Broncos ended up covering. It was more of a shootout than it was a low-scoring game, but nonetheless, they covered. In this one here, the lean has to be the Chicago Bears. I wish Justin Fields was 100%. If he was 100%, even with Claypool out, Justin Fields at 100%, I would have easily taken the Bears here, but I'm probably going to end up having to stay away now. Next up, we got the Dallas Cowboys at the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Cowboys are -4. I'm going to make this game short and sweet. If you're going to take a side, it probably has to be the Jaguars, but this just isn't enough points for me for a Jaguars team that I don't really trust them to win 2 games in a row. So they won last week. It was a big game. It was very impressive, just like when they beat the Ravens and then they ended up getting hammered by the Lions. So I don't really know if I could trust this Jaguars team against an elite defense like the Cowboys. The spread is 4. I wish it was a little bit more points. I wish the Cowboys were favored by a little bit more. Then I could back the Jaguars. But in this spot with the Jaguars just getting 4 against what's considered to be one of the best teams in football, it's kind of tough for me. I can't really tell you guys what side to take. The lean would be Jaguars. Jaguars is obviously the sharp side. It's been getting steamed down, but it's hard for me to back the Jaguars off a big W like that. They've just proven to be an unprofessional group, and when you think they're going to win, that's when they lose. When you think they're going to lose, that's when they win. Overall, the Dallas Cowboys should go on the road, and they should take care of business. It is a look-ahead spot to the Eagles, so just a lot of conflicting narratives. I guess you take the 4 points, and you just hope for the best with the Jaguars. I wouldn't touch this game. Next game, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Carolina Panthers. The Steelers are +3. Kenny Pickett is out. It's going to be Mason Rudolph or Mitch Trubisky. With either of them starting, I like the Carolina Panthers. -3, I don't really mind. But I wanted this spread when it was -2.5, when it was -2, when it was -1.5. That's when I felt more comfortable because is Carolina really just going to steamroll anybody? You don't really want to lay too many points with Carolina. Expecting Carolina to beat a team by more than 3 is asking for a lot. If you're able to get your hands on a 2.5 and you hear that Mason Rudolph is the quarterback, you definitely have to take it. With Mitch Trubisky out there, he gives them a little bit more than Rudolph because he's mobile. But even with Mitch out there, -2.5, Carolina would be the side, no doubt about that. Right at 3 is a little bit sharp for me. This is going to be a defensive game, very low-scoring game. Carolina or nothing, definitely in this spot. But I just want to see who the quarterback is. It's hard for me to really tell you guys what I think about this game when both backups are splitting snaps at practice. We'll probably find out tomorrow who's going to be the official starter or like a little bit before the game where we'll hear the news or something. So just play it by ear. If it's Mason Rudolph and you get under 3, I definitely would take Carolina. Even at 3, heavy lean towards Carolina if it's Mason Rudolph. If it's Mitch Trubisky at 3, probably stay away from it just because Mitch can do some weird stuff and like kind of find a way to stick around. Next game, we got the Arizona Cardinals at the Denver Broncos. The Cardinals are +3. I'm not talking about this game. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not talking about this game. The Cardinals +3. You don't really want to back Colt McCoy. You don't really want to fade the Denver Broncos when they're at home because their defense is so good at home, but you want to fade the Denver Broncos when they're favored. When the Denver Broncos are favored, that's just an automatic fade. So, really tough spot. Who's going to be the quarterback for the Broncos? It's just a mess. Does it really matter who's the quarterback for the Broncos? They all suck. So, nothing on this game. This is a crazy game to bet. Why bet this game? With the spread at virtually a pick 'em, I probably would have to lean towards the Raiders at home because the Raiders are an explosive offense and the Patriots have struggled competing against offenses that can be explosive. But what I like even more than the spread is, and this is going to end up being an official play, I just haven't gotten there yet, but I'm going to end up locking this in, is the over on the Patriots-Raiders game. I like the over 44.5 here. This Patriots game reminds me a lot of when they went to Minnesota on Thanksgiving. Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson, comparing them to Derek Carr and Davante Adams. You have middle of the pack to good quarterback play, throwing it to guys who are arguably top 2, top 3 receivers in the league, right? So you got playmaking there. You got two teams that can run the ball, especially the Raiders with Josh Jacobs. Patriots on the road, what do? Their defense tries to stop those guys, but their defense just hasn't been as good on the road as they have been at home. So their defense is going to try to stop those guys. But even if you're able to limit Carr and Davante a little bit, which I don't think they will, the Raiders are still going to be able to run the ball on them. Josh McDaniels knows what Belichick wants to do. Josh McDaniels has been a part of that Patriots system. He's going to find ways. He's going to find holes and leaks in that system. The Raiders are going to be able to put up some points against the Patriots. Don't worry about that. And on the other side of the football, Mac Jones, we saw Mac Jones on Thanksgiving. He led the week in passing yards that week. He was slinging it against the Vikings. And I think that he's going to do that against the Raiders because the Raiders have a very similar defense to the Vikings in that they can get a stop every now and then and they can kind of be a bend-don't-break defense. But for the most part, you could sling it against them. Both teams, the Vikings and the Raiders, have a little bit of a pass rush, but their secondary doesn't really offer much. And Mac Jones is going to stand in that pocket. The O-line is going to give him enough time, and he's going to sling it. And even if he's not, the Patriots are going to find a way to run the football. They're going to move the ball up on the Raiders. The Raiders aren't going to stop them. You don't take the Raiders because you think the Raiders are going to get stops. You take the Raiders because you think the Raiders are going to score more than the other team. So I think all of this bodes to this game being possibly like 27-24. I could see 27-20. Both teams it feels like a game where both teams are going to get at least 24 points. I have a hard time seeing both teams not getting to about 24 points. So we should get over by a few points. I have a hard time seeing this going under. 24-20 would be slightly under, but I have a hard time seeing one of these teams have a hard time to struggle to reach 20 points. Both teams should be able to run the ball. Carr should be able to find Adams. If Renfrow and Waller play, that definitely doesn't hurt. And the Patriots, Mac Jones, the Patriots are going to be able to run the ball, and Mac Jones is going to be able to throw against this Raider defense. Patricia, especially after Mac Jones going off in that Monday night game about them not being aggressive enough, Patricia's going to take the training wheels off and let Mac Jones sling it on the road the same way he did against the Vikings. They know they're going to have to sling it in order to win this game. So give me the over in this game, over the 44.5 official play. Next game, we got the Tennessee Titans at the Los Angeles Chargers. The Titans are +3. I would lean Tennessee just because you're getting the better coach team and you're getting a team that's very hungry versus the Chargers, who just came off of a primetime win. We know Herbert and Tua were getting compared a lot to each other. We know that was a big, must-win game for the Chargers in their playoff hopes. So I would lean Titans here just to stay alive and just to try to compete. It's hard to really have a definitive reason for taking the Titans, though, just because they have looked lackluster lately and because the Chargers are getting healthy now. So I can't put it down as a money pick, but the Titans +3 would be the side for me. And the last game on the afternoon slate, we got the Cincinnati Bengals at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bengals are -4. Yo, this is crazy. Tom Brady being a 4-point underdog. It's crazy. It's crazy to see. The Tampa Bay Bucs have just struggled so much, and Vegas is finally starting to acknowledge it. We faded Tampa Bay this season successfully, but this feels like a lot of points at home. Maybe this is the time that Tom Brady's finally able to cover. It's tough, though. it's tough, and the only reason why it's tough, and the only reason why I won't be a contrarian and tell you guys take the Bucks, is because the Bengals have been winning games and covering games that they're not supposed to. Like when you look at the numbers and you look at situations like when the Bengals were going up against the Titans, which we had correctly, or when the Bengals went to Pittsburgh and we lost that one. There's just been games where the Bengals they're doing things they're not supposed to, and then sometimes they fall short when you expect them to win. And they're also a very hot team, and we've seen them streak into the playoffs last year. So this could very well just be the same exact situation where this team just has a flow and they heat up at the right time. I can't fade the Cincinnati Bengals against a Tampa Bay team that's just been this horrible. But if you're going by the book, if you're going by the numbers, you would take Tampa Bay in this spot, and I couldn't really blame you for it because it makes sense at its core. But there's just too many counter narratives where, especially with Cincinnati has been doing things they're not supposed to get done, and it's really impressive, and it speaks to just how many gamers they have on both sides of the field. I really think the Cincinnati Bengals defense is the most slept on unit in football. People don't talk about them enough because they don't have a bunch of name brand guys. They don't have a bunch of guys that have the X factor on Madden, but the Cincinnati Bengals, they got a bunch of ballers on both sides of the football. Sometimes they win games, and it's not even because of Joe Burrow. It's because the team's just, overall, it's good. Sometimes the coach is bad, and the team still wins because the team is just that good. So, really tough spot. I got nothing for this game. If you're betting this game, good luck. I understand why you would take either side, but good luck. This is just too tough for me. Last two games, we got Sunday Night Football. The New York Giants at the Washington Commanders. The Commanders are -4.5 at home. And I know you guys are probably wondering, where's the money pick? You've given out a bunch of plays that you might end up going official on. You've given out a bunch of leans, but where's the money pick that you said was going to surprise us? The money pick is here. The Washington Commanders, I want to get it down to 4, but even at 4.5, I like the Washington Commanders in this spot. The Commanders, look, they had a bye week after tying with the Giants. They went on the road and tied with the Giants. They got a bye week. They got a chance to get healthy. They got a chance to look at the film and see exactly what they need to do to stop this team. They're completely locked in. They're at home. This is a team that's ascending. This is a team that's streaking upwards. They're hot at the right time. The Commanders are going to take care of business in this spot. And you got the New York Giants, who are getting this huge line right now, +4.5 after just tying with the Commanders. The books aren't trying to do you a favor by giving you +4.5. The books are setting you up because they know that the Commanders are the better team, and they know the Commanders are going to win this game. So they got to put it out a high line. They're going to put out a high line to try to trick you guys into taking the Giants. Everybody's taking the Giants right now. I don't even have to look at the splits to know that. But the Giants are just depleted. There's just so many injuries. They tied that game against the Commanders that they really needed to have. They lost that game to the Eagles. They just got crushed in that spot. Now you're asking them to go on the road. They have no momentum. Injury report is crazy. Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, the wheels are starting to fall off. You just can't back the Giants here. I know people are going to want to because they look at these two teams and they say there's not a big difference between these two teams. You know what this game reminds me of? This game reminds me of when we got suckered into taking the Steelers on Thursday Night Football against the Browns. And we thought that the Steelers were going to be able to take care of business against the Browns on the road. The Steelers were getting more than 3 points. We were like, hey, everybody was thinking this. Hey, these teams are kind of similar. Why not take the team getting extra points? It's the division game. No, the books aren't doing you a favor. The reason why this line is big is because the Commanders are going to win this game. How much they win by? Well, I think they cover. I think they win this game by at least a touchdown. I think the Giants have a very, very tough time scoring in this game. Chase Young is back. Jonathan Allen has been amazing this season. It's going to be very tough for the Giants to put up any type of offense on the road. And defensively, the Giants are gamers. They compete. They give it their all on the defensive side of the football. But Taylor Heinicke has something going on with this Commanders team. And I think Ron Rivera is going to try just enough tricks. They're going to run the ball well. And they're going to figure out a way to score just enough to have their defense give them the cover in this game. You got to take the Commanders here. Once again, I want the -4, but at -4.5, I'd still take the Commanders. If it's -4.5 an hour or two before the game, I'm still going to take the Commanders. Last game, we got Monday Night Football. The Los Angeles Rams at the Green Bay Packers. The Rams are +7. Don't bet this game. The Rams have been covering the past few games at home, but that was at home. Baker had a cool, nice drive against the Raiders, but there was holding on that drive. He didn't look good the whole game before that against the Raiders defense that definitely isn't better than this Green Bay defense. It's tough to imagine that the Rams are going to find a way to score in the frozen tundra. It's also tough to want to back the Green Bay Packers -7 versus anybody at this point in the year. This is a real nasty spot. It's just a really weak primetime game, honestly. But I guess the Green Bay Packers are still trying to fight for playoff position, so maybe we see the Packers get a win here. I don't know who covers. This is just a nasty game. Once again, we know the Rams can cover at home with this unit, but can they cover on the road? And we know the Green Bay Packers are fighting for their playoff lives, but can they really cover 7 versus anybody? I don't know. I'd advise everybody to stay away from this. Low total. This is probably going to be an ugly, boring game, but Baker and Aaron Rodgers, I'm going to get sucked into watching on Monday night, but don't bet this game. So that's it for Week 15. Once again, we're looking at the Falcons +4. We're looking at the Raiders over 44.5, and we're looking at the Commanders -4, -4.5. I'll go official with these picks on my Twitter and Instagram before the games. Make sure to follow me. I'll put the link down below. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Share the videos. Until next time, peace.